Silent night.
Hi, I'm Jeff. This is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north, and today we're going to look at Streptocarpus kerr, the Cape Primrose, otherwise known as. Now, there are loads of videos out there on Streptocarpus kerr, but I'm going to give you my take on it. I've been growing them for a couple of years now, and what I want to do, some of them are looking very tired. They've been flowering since May. I do have some varieties that flower through winter, but they're all looking like they need a little bit of TLC. They need a tidy up, and I did this with them last year and it really paid dividends. So I'll take you along for the ride. This is what I normally do with them. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll see. Experience tells me that it does seem to work. So I will give you my advice on them, and you can apply that to your own situation. And if anybody has anything to offer that's something I've not thought of, then please do chip in there in the comments, and we'll see if we can all grow better Streptocarpus. So I'll take you along for the ride, and I'll see you in a few little minutes. Okay, so we're back. I have had to take all my Streptocarpus down from the shelves and put them on the floor because there's nowhere else to put them, and I've got rather a lot. I actually didn't realise how many I've got. Now, first of all, if you'd have seen my last video on Streptocarpus kerr, you'll have seen that they all looked in great condition, and they don't look so much in great condition anymore. So I'm going to go through them and just explain what my idea is. We'll start off with the crystal variety. So this one is crystal ice. We've got 2, 4, 6, 7 plants there, and I've actually given quite a few away quite recently. The crystal ice is one of the varieties. There are lots of crystals, not just crystal ice, but the crystal variety is a perennial flowering one. Perennial as in it never stops flowering. It flowers all the time, all through winter. Well, that's the idea anyway. You can see 2 or 3 of them have actually finished flowering now. But if I look after them, they will start to come back again pretty soon. You can also see the difference in condition. So some of them have got really dark green leaves, and some of them have got really yellowing leaves. Now, I understand that if you do get dark green leaves, it can be that they're just not getting enough light. If you're getting overly yellowing leaves, that can mean that they're a little bit too pot bound and they need changing on the pots. So at this time of year with the crystal ice variety, it's pretty much the same as all the others really, except with the crystal ice you would tend to give them a very weak feed once they start flowering again. So what I'm going to do, all these are in very small pots, and they really need to go into a pot size larger. Now, unfortunately, even though the recommendation is that you don't over pot them, you just pot them up a little bit, I've only got a certain size of pot that I bought for the lot, and they're going to have to go in that. Really, springtime's the best time to repot them. Again, very often we don't do things that are optimal. I repotted a lot of them last year at the wrong time. They were fine, they recovered, they came through to start flowering in like late April, early May time. So I'm going to choose some of them maybe to get rid of. I don't know, I'll have a think about it. I might keep most of them, I don't know, because they are really nice to fill in gaps. Once they get going, they do look spectacular, and they can fill in some of those gaps. And when you get a nicer plant or something that comes into flower earlier, then you can always stick these under the shelves until you're ready to bring them out again. Even though they like bright light, not sunshine, not direct sunshine, as pretty much any plant doesn't like direct sunshine under glass. But they are quite tolerant of shade. It won't kill them. They will still flower, but they prefer the brighter conditions. So it'd be interesting really to see whether the ones with darker leaves are the ones in the darker areas. So that's the crystal variety. Moving on, just have to make sure I don't knock any over. We've got Bethan, pink Leyla, these are. And again, you've got the exact same thing, that some of them have really dark leaves, some of them have very pale leaves. Now that can't be because they're not in bright light, because frankly none of them are in bright light at this time of year. And I've got my new grow light going, but they were going that colour anyway. So again, the ones that tend to look healthier are in slightly bigger pots. They do like to be a little bit pot bound. They don't like to have tons of space around them. But we'll do the exact same treatment with those. We'll go through them. I'm going to pick out, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do with them when I do it. So that's Bethan. Then moving on, again, I didn't realise of how few of some varieties I had and how many of others I had. This one is, I think it's polka dot purple. Let's just have a look. Yeah, polka dot purple, and you can see an example of what it looks like there. So I really need more of those, and if you just swing you around here, over on the propagator here, I've got strep polka dot purple, which I planted from leaf cuttings on the 26th of October. A little slow to get going. They're still alive just, but there's no new plant that's coming on that yet. I think when I did this, what I didn't realise was on the innermost leaves are the youngest leaves, and they're really the leaves that you should take. Prior to learning this, I was propagating them from the outer leaves just because they were the bigger ones and I was cutting them off anyway. I believe that's really not the thing to do. You need to go for the inner younger leaves, the greener ones from the centre. So next time I pot up some cuttings, that's what I'm going to do. These Titania ones here, you can see just on the edge there, these ones have begun to come. So maybe I took a younger leaf there. So I'm going to need some more of those, but I'm trying to propagate those. Next one along, we've got Streptocarpus. A lot of these are in smaller pots. You can see the difference there. You've got 8-10 centimetre pot there. Oops, sorry, bigger plant. And these tiny ones in tiny pots, 8 centimetre pots, no, smaller even, smaller pots than that, 6 to 8 centimetre pots. They haven't grown quite as well. So more of those. This one, I've only got one of these. This one is Bethan, and I don't think, no, I've not done any cuttings of that, so that's going to need a cutting. Let's just have a look, see if we can see. Yeah, that's what that looks like. So we're going to need to get some cuttings of that. Maybe that one could be divided, although I did read that even though they can be divided, it's better to do the leaf cuttings than divide them, and you know, perhaps damage a lot of the roots in doing that. And the final one that we've got, this was everybody's favourite, even though it's very much looking worse for wear now. This one is, forget the name, Titania, that's it, Titania. This looks spectacular when this one's in full bloom. And this is the other one that I have the cuttings for, that's that one, Titania. So we've got at least a couple of plants coming on there, and hopefully I'll get some of the others as well. So that's all my streps at the moment. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 plants in all there. And all I'm going to do is take I think I'll take some of the cuttings first, do some propagating, and I'm going to have a look at some to pot up. I'm just debating with myself whether to pot up the ones with yellowing leaves first or the one with darker green leaves first. It's tempting to think that the ones with the dark green leaves are more healthy. I'm definitely going to take off some of these leaves and see if I can find some greener ones in the middle, because I just don't like the look of the yellow. I much prefer them when they're dark green. By the time we got to February last year, they'd all turned dark green. I'm certainly going to strip them back quite a bit, because I find that if you can rejuvenate them by getting these younger greener leaves starting to sprout, then it looks a far better plant. But yeah, there's certainly a beautiful genus of plant, and there are all sorts of hybrids. Definitely recommend Dibley's Nurseries. I think it's in Wales somewhere in the UK, and they've got all sorts of information. They've got fact sheets, but I mean, these are very forgiving plants. They don't mind a little bit of hardship. They are tropical. They do like to stay above 5 degrees, but they don't like the direct sun. They grow in like mountainous areas in South Africa, in the woodlands of South Africa, and they can grow next to water. As far as watering goes, I mean, we'll go through all these details in a few minutes when I get these up on the workbench. But I would definitely say let them dry out and then water them. If you leave them too long, then they wilt, they flop, and you'll soon know if the leaves have flopped. But the overwatering gives you the same symptoms as underwatering. So if you do overwater and let them sit in water, sit on a tray full of water, then they'll flop just the same. And of course, what happens then is people come along and give them a bit more water, and the nail's in the coffin. But once you learn those couple of rules, then they're really quite easy. So not in direct sun, but give them as much light as you can. Water them when the soil feels dry, or certainly when they start to wilt, but be careful that you've not overwatered them. Lift the pot up a little bit on some stones so that they're not sitting in any water, and make sure you empty that out so that water doesn't creep up to the bottom of the pot. So I will set you up on my stunning new sturdy tripod that won't come clattering down hopefully today, and we'll have a look. I mean, I'm not going to do all of these today. We'll have a look at some of them, and I will talk you through one or two other tips, and I will time lapse some of the more boring bits. So I shall catch you in a few minutes. And we're back. Okay, so this is Titania. Now, as you just saw, I've already taken some cuttings of Titania. So all I need to do is to give it some kind of tidy up. And I am going to repot this one. It's already in a fairly big pot, but I've bought these nice new black shiny pots. These are 5-inch pots, 12.7 centimetres. And I thought they looked really nice and shiny. Because it's been in this pot probably a couple of years, to be honest, definitely 1 year, I thought it would be nice to give it something to spread its roots in. They do like to be quite pot bound, but you are meant to pot them on as well. You can see the kind of damage that you get. They do quite naturally begin to lose the end of the leaf tips. So all you do, it's a bit like leaves falling off in the middle of winter or the autumn. You just cut them off. They're quite happy for that to happen, even if they're getting too big, or if you want to reshape them. It's worth looking underneath because you get a lot of the old yellowing leaves there. So what I like to do is get right under there and cut those off as well. I'm going to take this out actually. Hope you can see that there. Just move it round a little bit. There we go. It's much better, this new tripod. Just shows you it's not worth spending £10 on one, but £20 and you get something decent. It's definitely pot bound because it won't come out. The leaves, this one's quite dry actually. I didn't realise it was so dry. The leaves are very brittle. I'm losing them naturally here with my rough treatment. So you come. There we go. So it's actually a good idea to let them dry out a little bit. You can see some of the old sticks that I had for feeding. There's not much left of them now. That one's still in there. They get very compact. Now you can see there are actually several rosettes here, so I could divide them out, but I don't really want to do that. I'm going to cut these off, sad as it may seem, but it needs a rest. It's given me nothing but blooms all year. The old spikes, I don't know if you can see, but they get really, really congested inside there, so you've really got to get in there and start to pull them out. They do rot eventually, but they go very, very woody. and they just take up loads of room. Like I say, you can see lots of separate rosettes here that I could divide off, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to, because I don't need lots and lots of new little plants from that one. It's just as easy to propagate them. So I'm going to get in here. I might time lapse you for this and get rid of all these old spikes. So we'll do a time lapse countdown. 3, 2, 1, off we go.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round yon virgin mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild.
Okay, so if you look at that now, you can see there's lots more room in the middle. I just grabbed hold of chunks of all the old dead flower spikes and sticks and pulled them all out. Anything that I didn't like the look of, any of the leaves that I didn't like the look of, I took out. Any of the very small weedy ones that just didn't look like they were doing anything, you know, the really weak growths. And you can actually see now all the separate rosettes. So I could quite easily, you know, tear that apart and I'll have separate plants here. But I'm not going to do it because I'd rather have, you know, a decent sized specimen than lots and lots of little ones. So that now is ready to be potted up, and hopefully now that it's got some chance to breathe in there, it'll get romping away once it comes round to springtime. I'm going to give it a rest, and then we'll start to feed it once it comes into growth. So all that remains there is for me to pot it up into this pot. Now this one is a good repot because it is only like a couple of centimetres bigger, so that is a good size to repot. I'm going to put a little bit of gravel in the bottom there for drainage. This is John Innes number 2. It's potting on compost. There will be a little tiny bit of feed in there, but nothing that's going to cause it too much stress over the winter. And I'll time lapse this bit. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Time lapse.
Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Okay, and we're back. Now I always find it's easier said than done potting up into a pot that's only a little bit bigger. It's much easier potting up into a pot that's a lot bigger. Because what you tend to find is when there's only a little gap down the side, the compost kind of stays at the top, and then when you take it out of the pot in a year's time, there's like a big gap where it didn't get down. So I'm going to keep my eye on that. There's lots of tapping the pot at the side to try and get the compost to settle back down into the bottom, you know, tapping it down onto here, tapping it underneath to try and get that compost down. I think I've got it as far as I can, so I'm going to water it, keep my eye on it and see if I start to see gaps around the side. I can't see that I can get any more compost down there, but it's certainly, that's going to give it, you can see it's almost going, finally I've got some space. That's what I would do if I was it. There are inevitably some casualties when you're being so rough with them and taking a lot off. You do lose a few leaves that you didn't want to lose and a few new growths that you didn't want to lose, but they're so forgiving, they'll come back and they'll definitely reward you with all that space they've got now. There's like 1, 2, 3, there's 4 separate rosettes in there that I could have split off, but I'd rather them stay together and give me a better show next year. So I'll stick the label back in if I can find it. Oh, it's down there. And that'll be back on the shelf, ready to get growing again. think we'll just snip that bit off there. You can do these in a V shape if you want, but I'm not really that fussed. That looks a little bit better than doing it right across, but that's up to you. Aesthetics, if you're interested in that. Okay, so we'll get on to the next one. Okay, so this is Bethan. I've only got one of these. And again, if you start looking underneath, you do occasionally get this, where the leaves start to rot. So again, keep your eye on these ones underneath and make sure you pull them out, because they are prone to some leaf rot underneath. This one's not looking too bad. It's a little bit out of shape. I might cut some of these bigger leaves off. Again, I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this. I'm going to take it off, take all the dead bits from the middle, give it some breathing room, take some of these big old leaves out, and just generally clean it up, ready for some proper growth next year, because you can see it's only in a really small pot and it's not really appreciated it that much. Great the first year, not so good last year, because it's ready to be potted on. So we'll do a time lapse on that one. Here we go, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, and we're back. Now this one does seem to have like 3 rosettes very close together. I don't know if repotting it's going to help. It is very wet. I think I might have overwatered that one a little bit. But we've got rid of some of the leaves just to give it a bit more space. It's similar really to what you do with pelargoniums. You know, you think you're damaging them by taking the leaves off, but sometimes you just give them that little bit more growing room, and they do seem to appreciate it. But nevertheless, it's going in a bigger pot, and hopefully it'll spread and start to appreciate it. There's nothing wrong with the roots, they're not rotting. So I'll stick a bit of gravel in here and we'll pot this one up. Okay, and we're back. So that's Bethan done. So much easier when you overpot them. I don't think they'll suffer too much from it. I think they'll appreciate it. Like I said, they are due a repot. It has been a couple of years. It'll be nice getting some fresh compost in there to get the roots out into. So that's Bethan, and I know I need some more of these ones. I've not got any more. I've only got the one of that. So perhaps at some point I'll take some cuttings of that when I've got a little bit more room. So that's Bethan, and we'll get on to the next one. And we're back. So this is Polka Dot Purple. And again, I've only got one of these, but I've got some hopefully coming in a little while if the cuttings take. This one feels, it's quite a big pot, this one. I'm just checking here. Yeah, no, this one is a good pot, repot size. That's about what they want, what we're after. I can really feel the roots in here. And this one also looks like quite an easy one to deal with. You can see lots of old yellow leaves around the outside and some nice new growth in the middle. So it does feel, it's a very satisfying job actually, taking out all that old dead stuff. You can almost feel it breathing a sigh of relief. I think Alan Titchmarsh says it's like a Victorian woman taking a corset off. You can almost feel her going, thank goodness for that. I don't know if there's some slightly sexist element to that, I don't know, so I apologise if there is. I'll try and think of a male version. I don't know, men don't wear corsets, perhaps some do. What am I talking about? Get back to plants, safer ground with plants. Well, I've definitely lost this pot. It's good thumb workout. Right. Is it coming? If you pull too hard, these leaves are so brittle, they just all snap off. Ah, there we go. Not much left in there. In that pot. Right, so you can see here it's really pushing against the side of the pot, so this will definitely enjoy the fact that it's And I didn't realise I'd stuck so many feeding sticks in. I'm terrible for feeding, it's a real pain. I much prefer just stick a stick in it. Well, I think they only last a month. So, right, I'm going to get rid of some of these old leaves, some that are damaged anyway, and give it some room. So, time lapse coming up. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and we're back. So you can see that looks a lot nicer now. Polka dot purple. I did kind of lose a few more leaves than I anticipated. I'm getting a bit rougher as I'm going along because I have an awful lot to do yet, and well, it gets a bit dull after a while, but it'll be worth it in the end when I think of how many hours of pleasure they'll give me. So that's looking really nice now. Got 2 separate rosettes there. It's funny how some of the smaller ones that's in smaller pots seem to have more rosettes. Don't know why. Now you can see, I don't know if you can see on there, there are a few like remnants of skins that's been shed from when they did get in the summer a lot of, I'm going to get rid of that leaf actually. They got a lot of green fly, and they do, the martyrs to green fly. You don't get them on the leaves, you get them on the flowers and the flower stalks, curiously. But you can, I think Dibley's, they use organic means, but I ran out of patience with my organic methods, and I did use, I use organic when I can, and I know I should, but you know, it's a greenhouse. How organic do you have to be in a greenhouse? I ended up using a systemic weed killer, and to be honest, that worked far more effectively than anything else that I'd had. I only needed 1 spray of everything, all my streps, and they were brilliant after that. They give me another few months of pleasure. So that's that one done. I just need to pot that one up, and I think what I'll do is I'll end it there, because how many times can you watch a tidy up of a excuse me, of a strep? But you can see what we're trying to do here. We're trying to give them all this extra space, get rid of all the old, well, for want of a better word, crap. Rid of all the old crap out of there, and they do thank you for it. Just check if there's anything else I've not mentioned. So type of compost we've mentioned. We've talked about how you water them, how I clean them up. Again, I've not really got that from anywhere. It's just my own, trial and error, really. I've looked on Dibley's website. I've looked a few other things up. What I didn't do, I didn't look at videos, and I did that on purpose. I know Rachel at Garden at Duence's got a few on streps, probably far more detailed than mine. I didn't want to watch those simply because, not because I didn't want to learn, but I don't want anyone kind of accusing me of copying anybody. That's not what I'm doing. I'm filming here what I'm doing anyway. If it gets views, wonderful. It would be nice to have a few more subscribers, but it is what it is. I'm doing my best. This is what I'm doing anyway. I've got streps. It's time to do this. I might as well film it. That's the way I'm looking at it. So if anybody finds it useful, that would be absolutely marvellous. Please do tell me, and drop it a like if you think it's useful, because sometimes it does feel like broadcasting to, outer space sometimes. But, I guess that's why people fall by the wayside. But I'll give it a go anyway. I'll give it a few months, and if I don't feel like anybody's watching, then I'll knock it on the head, to use a colloquialism. Easy for me to say. Okay, so we talked about feeding. Don't feed them over winter, apart from the crystal series. They need a week feed. We've said that you can, to propagate them, you can divide. You can see as easily as anything how you could divide that. Get a knife down the middle there, and it's done, isn't it? or try and tease it apart. I think I'd be more inclined to get a knife. But I don't want small plants, I want bigger plants, so I'm not going to do that. I've already talked about how you can take leaf cuttings. That's really easy. You just get one of your green young leaves, chop it off, and then that chopped off bit can just go straight into some soil. It's worth doing it with, 10, 15, even 20 leaf cuttings, because they don't all take. You only get like, I don't know, if you get 10%, you're lucky. Maybe if you do it in really good conditions, you get more higher success rate than that. But I mean, it's worth a try, isn't it? There's enough leaves there. The plant doesn't mind if you cut the leaves off. We've talked about the compost that you use, just a general purpose compost. They like high potash feeds when it comes round to growing season. But again, they're not that fussy. I just stick in one of these little sticks, feeding sticks, and it does it fine. I think it's just a general purpose 10-10-10 feed. Might even be, I don't know, it might not even be that. I didn't really look. Dibblies do sell like specific feeds for streps that I think it's like a tablet that you get one a month. You get a thing full of tablets and stick it in there. Similar kind of thing. Keep them above 5 degrees. They don't mind shade that much, but they do like bright conditions, so if you can keep them somewhere bright. But if you've no space over winter, you just want to store them somewhere, keep them in the shade is fine. They don't suffer too much. Just make sure you bring them out in spring. So yeah, that's it. That's all about streps, everything that I know about streps anyway. Now is the time that I will go and have a look at somebody else's video, and I'll probably go, oh, I didn't know that, I should have done that, I should have mentioned that. But that's what this is all about, isn't it? It's all about learning yourself. I certainly don't know everything. Some might say I know nothing. Well, there you go. That's going to be potted up now. I'll do a few others. But if you liked the video, then please click like. If you didn't, well, get off it quick before you decide to click on like. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Silent night, holy night, shepherds quail.